it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast, a preview of our last home game in the season against Spurs. And I swear I wasn't trying to poke any bears by putting Matty Cash on the thumbnail. I definitely wasn't. Would I do such a thing? I never, ever, ever would.
Never.
I'm joined today by Jay White because Paddy is just caught up in work at the moment. He may jump on at some stage. I'd be surprised if he did, but you never know. We might have the spectre of Paddy arrive at some stage. But delighted to be here with Jay. And Jay is somebody that was at the Bournemouth game. We were just chatting about it there beforehand. To see Ollie Watkins break the goal scoring record. The only time I've ever been in a stadium where someone broke a goal scoring record was when Niall Quinn broke Frank Stapleton's goal scoring record. And I missed the goal because it was like 4 minutes into the game and I had to stand up to let people walk past me, and they all stopped, turned around to look at the goal, and me only being like 5'7", 5'8", I saw his shoulders is all I saw for that. So I was in the ground when it happened. Don't know. It was a header. Obviously, I saw it back afterwards, but missed it in real time because fellas wanted to go for a piss 4 minutes into a game.
You can say you were there.
You didn't miss it.
No. First of all, Neil, great to obviously be back on, mate. As always, absolute pleasure. Yeah, I was there, and I was absolutely delighted for him. I really, really was. It was an interesting game. It was a bit of a tentative game and a bit scrappy. And to be honest with you, the ref, I mean, I know you've talked about this anyway, sort of post-match, but the ref had a bit of a stinker for both teams. He just lost control, hence the reason of giving, 5-6 minutes injury time, in which Watkins scored. And again, do you know what? From where I was, I could see Rodgers cross, saw Watkins finish the celebrations, and I thought he's offside here. I thought this. I'm thinking they're going to check this, and I'm looking, and I sort of saw the defender, and I'm thinking it's that awkward. It's like that awkward couple of minutes, and the VAR comes up on the screen, and everyone's on tenterhooks, and then there it was, absolutely goal, record breaker, and I was so pleased for him, so pleased. I just think he deserves it. And you look at, I was looking actually something earlier today, mate, that the list of our all-time Premier League goal scorers with the likes of Dion Dublin, Juan Pablo Angel, obviously Gabby, and Benteke. I think Benteke's got the best goals per game ratio. But Ollie Watkins, what he has done, his goals and his goals assists for Aston Villa, is absolutely superb. And yes, he's got his flaws, like we all have. But as a striker, I really think we're lucky to have him. And don't get me wrong, we have allowed him to flourish and grow and become the player he is. But I was just absolutely delighted for him, mate. I really was.
And do you know what? I love the fact that they're, in a lot of ways, look, I'm always going to be unapologetically pro Ollie, for better or for worse.
Same.
But I am still, as everybody knows, I am still looking forward to seeing who they bring in to push him, because everyone they've brought in to push him has got him to 75 goals. That, like, we all can remember back to myself and Paddy. Team Neil was Watkins, Team Paddy was Ings. It was all like, that was what, back 2021? 2021,
yeah, it's about COVID almost times, wasn't it? Around that, yeah.
Around then, and look, I'm just looking forward to seeing who they do. I've had so much fun the last 5 or 6 days looking into potential partners for him, potential understudies for him. And I've been facetious at times online saying, who can we get to replace him? No, I think it's good. Like, obviously, I've said this before, and we'll stop the Ollie Watkins chat after this until we talk about probably how we feel he's going to go up against Mickey van de Ven later on. But I think there are some good players that you can get, that are some good young players that people may not have heard of. I think what I'm trying to get at here is, I don't think there's any finished article, but like John Duran, who I had only heard, I had heard of maybe 6 weeks before that. I had heard his name for the first time. But like John Duran and like a lot of players that we're tending to see launch themselves in Europe as well, there's also a couple of European strikers that have just hit gold at their clubs recently and realized that, you know, if you can start scoring goals as a striker, if you can get to double digits as a young striker, there aren't a whole pile of them around the place that can that at the moment you will get your move. And I've got a bit of a series coming up as soon as the I suppose the ink is dry on the scoreline of or on the papers that'll be written about Manchester United and Aston Villa. I'm going to release that because I've often said there's a lack of attacking talent in Europe at the moment, centre forwards. While I still think there's a lack of number nines, there's not a lack of people who've potential to be good number nines in the future. I'm looking at France and Germany. There's some really interesting characters out there. Anyway, that's my self plug out of the way for what's
looking forward to that.
Are you going to the Spurs game, Jay?
I'm not. Unfortunately, I am one of the people who has fallen victim to the fixture change. So yeah, I was all geared up for the Saturday or the Sunday, I think it was going to be. Anyway, one of the 2 days. But yeah, unfortunately, due to work commitments, other commitments, I just can't make it. So yeah, for me, unfortunately, the season's season's done now. Attending anyway. I was having this conversation with my wife, and I've been really pleased with the amount of games that I've managed to get to this season. You know, obviously being a season ticket holder, but yeah, so many games, Champions League. It's been a roller coaster season. We've got to get through the next 2 weeks, and then do you know what, Neil? I'm ready for a break, and I'm not even playing. Do you know what I mean? I don't need a rest.
I'm the same. As I've said in the podcast previously, about 2 weeks ago, maybe 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I was beginning to get fatigue podcasting. I won't say podcasting fatigue, but like I've been very open and honest. Like 6 weeks ago, we were talking about doing previews, and we're like, oh my god, we just can't just record one and just play them for all the previews, because the way Villa were at the time, actually probably going back further when Villa had injuries, you know, and you were saying, well, we only have 2 fit centre halves, we only have this person that can play in this position, and it was a bit repetitive. But I've got my vigor back again, and I think look, I suppose as well that the fact that, and look, not taking Spurs for granted, I Matt Law on during the week from the Telegraph, really great guy, Villa fan. I was speaking to him before and after. It's just a super person, like as down to earth as you'll ever get. And he covers Spurs for the Telegraph, has done for years.
My dad worked with Matt actually for a few years. Yeah,
he's a lovely guy. But he was saying like he's nervous about this one. He's nervous about this one, not because he's got any affection or anything like that for Spurs, but, and this was before the Kulusevski news came out, that Kulusevski is going to be out for the rest of the season, and maybe that puts the willies up Postecoglou and says, look, we can't get any more people injured before the final. But he seems to think that there's going to be a mixture of, that there's going to potentially be a first team put out for 50, 60 minutes, and he's going to haul people off after that, because he's of the opinion that you're going to have to, you can't have a 2-week break before a final. You just can't, because rust will build up and everything like that. And that he's going to need to play a couple of, he'd be surprised, he said, if Son didn't start and Van de Ven and Romero didn't play probably the whole game at centre half. So that's your building block for the Spurs team, and litter pieces in and out. Now, I still think we go and beat them, because I still think that, yes, while they will play, they will be playing with the handbrake on, because I don't think Mickey Van de Ven is going to run at 40 kilometers an hour and ping a hamstring just before a Europa League final. I think players will play with the psychological handbrake on, but you still need to have somebody to ping one in the back of the net. And we're going to be without Yuri Tielemans, going to be without Marcus Rashford, and we're going to be relying on, goal scoring record scorer, should I say, Ollie Watkins on Friday night. And look, as well, Jay, I think it's very underestimated by people who come to Villa Park, and certainly not overestimated by anyone who's been to Villa Park under lights. It's a bloody beautiful place to go play football, Villa Park under lights. It's
magnificent, innit? It really is. And I'm thinking, I'm gutted I can't make it, but the Friday night under the lights, like you say, there's no reason that the atmosphere shouldn't be bouncing. It is 2 cup finals now. I think it's interesting what you say about the Spurs team, and sort of that rest period before the final, and I think it's almost stuck between a rock and a hard place, isn't it? The fact that the players need to keep that fitness up, but obviously don't want to get injured. They don't want to risk any more injuries before the final. But it will be interesting to see how he plays. And if I'm honest, everything for Spurs is riding on that final, and in my view, everything riding on that final for Postecoglou as well. Spurs are 17th in the Premier League, lost 20 games this season. Now, I honestly don't think that's being talked about enough. And it's the same, not to talk about Man United, but they're one place above them. All the focus has been, it sort of seems elsewhere. But, these two teams, for them to be in that position, classed as the Big Six, as we all know, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And how he's still in a job, it has to be purely because they've got to this final. That's the only reason that I can think, genuinely.
I have a conspiracy theory about Spurs keeping the engine in place.
Yeah.
I think obviously, well, not a conspiracy theory, but I've a plausible theory, should I say? I think that I think Daniel Levy still thinks he has the magic, and to a good degree he does have the magic, but he has the magic when he holds on the leverage.
Yeah,
he doesn't really tend to have as much magic when the leverage isn't in his hands.
Yeah,
I think he thought he could price somebody away, like do something mad, like how's about I try and hijack Ancelotti? How's about I try and get a Zidane? He's done it in the past with Mourinho. He's done it in the past with bringing, like, I will always go back and credit Spurs' massive rise to two signings, Edgar Davids, Luka Modric. After that, everything else is like that was their announcement that they were going to be able to flash the cash and start to pull players. I know Davids was in the twilight of his career, but still, what a whopper of a name to be able to bring to the club. From there on, then they bring in, a player after player after player. All you need is one marquee signing back then. The money flew, and then they were able to bring in. I think he thought he could do that with a manager. Now, the two managers I said were probably ungettable. No, Ancelotti and Zidane are ungettable. I know what I mean. You know what I mean, like that. But I think he thought he could pry away a very, very good manager at the end of the season. And I think that's why he's kept Ange Postecoglou in place. Now, finishing 16th, if they lose this in United, if they lose this game and United get into the Europa League, I don't know where he goes for a manager. I couldn't put my finger on where he goes for a manager.
No, this is
interesting.
It is, and I think, like you said, you look back at some of the managers that they've had, Harry Redknapp and that sort of era, and I think it was Harry really that started getting them in and around the European places with Defoe and Crouch and all that, and like you say, they had a few following that. Conte as well was there, wasn't he, for a while? And like I say, I think that the season that they've had, I mean, you've just seen a bit of a change in him. I think he's turned. Postecoglou comes across just as a bit of a grumpy man now. You know what I mean? Talking about the injuries and the amount of games. Well, we're on par with that, and we're 6th in the league and quarterfinals of the Champions League and semi-finals of the FA Cup and all that. And again, you spin that on its head, and it just makes you even realise again how well Emery has done with this squad of players, bringing in some of his players, of course, and pushing us to where we are. And I think as Villa fans, sometimes we do take things for granted. And I think it's only when you look at the likes of, as I say, Spurs perhaps, and their current league position, just makes you sit back and think, wow, you know what? We're in Europe again next year. We all want it to be Champions League, of course, but we're going to be, on the European stage next season again, and what an achievement! What an incredible achievement! And if we can finish on a high now with 2 wins and one game goes our way, then we could be playing in the top league of European football again.
And I think then in my colours to the mast, we beat Spurs the weekend. Like I can't see the Chelsea Forest game finishing anything else other than a draw.
Yeah.
That finished as a draw. We beat Spurs. We win the last day of the season. We're there. We are there. So I know it's not in our hands, but we are blessed in a way that the Chelsea Forest game is the last day of the season, and it is between ourselves, Chelsea Forest.
Yeah.
You know, it is between ourselves, Chelsea and Forest, and we can all like win. A win on Friday only takes it down to the last day of the season, but it still puts us in. Like I would say we were bookies' favourites to go through. Well, I'd say we would definitely be bookies' favourites to go through if that was the case, considering the two teams playing each other would be taking points off. One team would be taking points off the other anyway, you know. So it's interesting. It's very, very, very interesting. And obviously Newcastle have to play Arsenal. Who knows what frame of mind Arsenal are going to be in.
Yeah.
No Declan Rice potentially, you know, so there's lots.
Definitely. And I think for Friday as well, I think again, we can't take anything for granted. I was really nervous ahead of the Bournemouth game, if I'm honest, because look, again, they've had a fantastic season, and you know, some 2-3 of their players at least have been outstanding. And wouldn't surprise me if they end up getting sort of poached at the end of the season. But I was nervous about that, and like I say, to come away with that win, you could see the relief from the players. I mean, Anana straight away fell to his knees. Martinez fell to his knees. You know, you could see what it meant to them, as well as the Villa fans. But I just hope that we can break Spurs down if they are going to sort of sit back, because as we know, when teams do come and park the bus, and it's Southampton did it to Man City on the weekend, you know, and you look at that, and the wealth of talent that Man City have got at their disposal, and they couldn't score against Southampton. So like I say, I just hope, and as you said, we're missing obviously Rashford, Jacob Ramsey's suspended, isn't he, and Tielemans out as well. But you know, I'd like to think that we've got such strength in depth now. And you know, I was chatting to a colleague at work about this, and he said, you know, the Villa have got 2 players minimum now for every position, which, okay, perhaps bar a striker, but Marlon can do a good job up there. You know, we've got strength in depth, and you know, if you sort of said, well, we're missing 3 key players, arguably Ramsey, well, okay, certainly Tielemans and Rashford and Ramsey as well. What do we do? But you know, John McGinn was on the bench Saturday. You know, he comes straight back in. He's our captain. You know, you've got McGinn, you've got Marlon if needed. You've still got Anana and Kamara in the middle there, perhaps with McGinn. I thought Rodgers looked tired on Saturday. I know he got his assist, but I thought that actually in the second half when he got subbed, he actually fell to the ground and was just sat there, absolutely shattered. So, I mean, he'll start, no doubt about that. And then I guess it's just sort of who replaces Ramsey down that left side. I would imagine it would be McGinn who will come in as that midfield 3, perhaps with Asensio, Rodgers and Watkins as a, you know, sort of a front 3-1-2 sort of thing, perhaps.
And that's an interesting one, because history dictates that he will play McGinn. He will bring McGinn into that team and keep. And I would be absolutely blown away with a feather if he broke up the Onana and Boubacar Kamara combination, because I thought they played really well. You were obviously there at the game against Bournemouth. You know, the Onana striding out of defence with the ball. I don't know whether it's the new haircut. Or what it is, but he looked a lot more streamlined when he was moving around the field anyway, and I was delighted to see it, because he's a damn good player. We've paid 55 million for him, you know, in a year where we're supposedly up against the wall again for PSR. The club wanted to push the boat out for him. You know, they made a priority signing. Been a bit injured this year or whatever, but if he comes up trumps in these last 3 games in the absence of Youri Tielemans, maybe knocks in another goal, make it 4 goals for the season, I think it would be for him, 4 goals.
Scores some important ones as well, haven't they?
Exactly. Wouldn't that be something to shout about? There's other people actually in the comments here talking about, and I should actually bring this up, but a lot of people have said this, but Villa minimum. It says the Bournemouth could easily take points off City this weekend. Yeah, so City play on Tuesday and then they play on Sunday again. They've got Bournemouth and they've got Fulham. And I know Bournemouth and Fulham don't have much to play for left, but Bournemouth anyway are formidable enough opponents to play against. Fulham are in a bit of a Fulham have really fizzled out, but who knows? You know, City couldn't get the points, all points against Southampton at the weekend. So let's just say City don't win on at the weekend, or we win on Friday night. So we win on Friday night, City don't win on Tuesday night. We're a point ahead of City going into the last day of the season. The permutations are myriad. with regards to this. So and fuck it, we should be damn, like, I know I'm damn excited about it. I'll tell you how excited I'll be about whether we get into the Champions League come 9:30 on Friday night. But as of now, I think it's something that we should look forward to, specifically this game, but also be cautiously optimistic at a home game against Spurs, that we can hopefully do the business, and keep this going to the last day of the season, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I'd love us to put on a show on Friday. I really would. We've sent a few statements out this season, haven't we, with some of the results, especially in Europe, and so many people are talking about us. And I think if we could get that win on Friday, it would just give us that bounce to go back into the final game. Like I say, I don't want to keep harping on about last Saturday, but you could just see the relief and the excitement of the players and the fans, because that was a massive win. Yes, it secured Europe, and it was brilliant. It was brilliant for Watkins. It was all about that. But yeah, I'd love to see us do the business. And I just must mention actually how impressed again I was with Tyrone Mings coming back into the team. And I'll be honest, on the 60-something minute, when I saw his number come up, I noticed Esri Konsa put his arms in the air and as if to say, what's going on here? Mings is going off. For me, he just offers us that leadership, that defensive, reading the game, winning headers. He wins everything, absolutely everything. And for me, look, Pau Torres is a fantastic footballer. We're lucky to have both. But the stats don't lie, in the sense of 14 games, I think it is now, we haven't lost when Mings has played this season in the Premier League. I am a big fan of him, and excuse me, I think I'd really like to see him start again on Friday.
Yeah, and I think he will. For those of you guys watching, there's about 400 people watching here at the moment, which as I always say, there's an Irish language TV station here in Ireland called TG Car, and I don't know, there are 400 people watching TG Car, and it's in Ireland. I would be surprised if there weren't 5 to 10 at night time, but you never know. There might be some Western on. Usually they put on a lot of Clint Eastwood Westerns, and that's usually what pays their bills at the end of the month. But yeah, so anybody in the comments there, for any of the 400 people that are watching, do you guys put in your back four that you would play for the weekend? Because I did this a couple of weeks ago, and I found it really good. I found it really engaging, and I found it really interesting to see how many people wanted Matson, Garcia, Disasi in the team. I'd be very surprised if there was a lot of people putting Disasi in it right back now, given where we are and what we have at our disposal. And I think Disasi will only ever be put in case of emergency. I think his time at Villa is over. But if he's called upon over the next couple, watch him start now on Friday night.
Yeah,
but if his time is if he's called upon, it's he's somebody that will come off the bench. But it'd be just interesting to see what the guys think their back four will be, because I think that Mings will start. I think it'll be Mings, Konsa, Cash, and Dina.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's still our strongest back four. I'll be honest. I thought Cashy was great on Saturday. He had a brilliant game. His positioning was superb. And I think the one thing with Bournemouth is you're so close to the pitch as well. So you feel like you're part of the action almost. And yeah, like I say, you're watching. What you don't see on TV is the players off the ball. You know what I mean? So you're seeing there, and as a defender growing up and playing football myself, I've always watched defenders, and like I say, with Mings, Konsa is a better player with Tyrone Mings next to him, as well as Mings also being a great player. And look, Luca Dean as well, what a season he's had. Yes, Matson is a great player, and chipped in with a goal the other week, and has got the pace and everything else. But for me, genuinely, our best back four was the one that started at the weekend, and I hope that's the one that starts on Friday, just because I think it's that stability. And look, it was a clean sheet for Martinez. It's different when Powell and Matson are there, or Garcia. Like I say, I just think it gives that stability, and with Onana and Kamara sitting in front as well. You just going back very briefly, Neil, to what you said about Onana. Again, the way he was he played really well. He played really well. He fed off the crowd as well. He was loving. He was loving the chance. The ball went out of play. There was an injury down by us, and he was actually nodding his head to the song. And actually, you could see the fans feeding off it, and he was loving it. And at the end of the game, when he does his sort of three cheers and everything, he's become a bit of a fan's favourite, I think, for that. But yeah, like I say, sort of going back to the team, for me, I think that would be a solid 6, 7 players, and then the rest probably just about picks itself, I guess, at the moment.
It's I think we go with Mings. I see a couple of people there. I can't find it there, but I saw somebody saying there that we would probably pay. Oh, there it is. We will not need Mings power. We'll need Powell's guile against weakened Spurs. See, I don't think Spurs are going to be weakened. I think Solanke starts up top. I think Son plays from the left. I think Bradley Johnson is going to play from the right. Yes, they're going to be without Madison. They're going to be without Madison, should I say. They're going to be without Kulusevski. They'll probably play Bentancur and Papamata Sarr in the middle of midfield, or even maybe Yves Bissouma. They're going to have their two centre halves. I think Romero and Van de Ven are going to play. Porro's going to be probably the right hand side, and probably Destiny Udogie, and then they're going to swap and change then as the game goes on, and maybe after 50-60 minutes. And I agree with Matt Law when he said that. I think that they will play those players and get them minutes. Solanke needs a goal going into European final. Son needs minutes. He needs a goal after being out for so long. Bradley Johnson does literally nothing on does nothing on the field, and then always pops up with a goal in games and stuff like that. So I think I want Tyrone Mings in there. I want him there last home game of the season. I want him there from the point of view that the numbers speak for themselves. 14 games played, 14 games without losing, and we can't lose this game. We have to win this game.
He's a leader, and if I'm honest here as well, I do get the Powell passing to a degree.
Love this. But I don't understand, Kevin, why you're so incredulous about this. They would have parked out their players for 2 whole weeks going into Europa League final. I don't think there's precedent of any team doing that previously. So that's why I think some of the guys start and come off. Yeah.
And it is, and I think it depends on the scoreline as well, doesn't it? It depends on the scoreline. If we are in a good position after 50-60 minutes, then I do expect that Spurs will make changes then. But if they're still in it, I wouldn't surprise, like yourself now, it wouldn't surprise me if they do keep the players on for a bit of fitness. But I mean, I think he said, didn't he, this week that he was wrapping them in cotton wool for the next 10 days. No,
that was out of context. Matt Law brought that up as well. Right. He said the reason that was out of context was when the last time they got to a final, Poch had them walking over hot coals and putting arrows up against their necks and stuff like that to harden their mental resolve and stuff like that. Like Arteta was getting the pickpocket, and that was the question. But what the soundbite you got was, no, I'll be wrapping him in cotton wool. But it was all about, will you be doing anything mad, have him lean out over the tops of buildings and things like that to try and harden their mental resolve. Well, that's what Matt Law said. I didn't hear the full quote, but I asked him the same question, and he said, "Yeah, I was there when that question was asked. It was a completely different contextualized question or whatever." So, but so that's why I'm so fervent in belief. I suppose when he said it, I went, actually, that makes more sense now, given that you were in the room when those questions were being asked. So it's interesting one for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's for me, like I say, I think if we can get an early goal, it's the old cliche, isn't it? You get an early goal, it settles the nerves a little bit, and we can build. I just don't want us to do our usual and just get one. I say our usual, maybe not our usual, is it now? But get one and then be like, oh, we could really do the second goal here. Even on Saturday, getting 1-0 at half time was brilliant. But I tell you what, it was a nervy second half. It really was, and look how close we came to dropping 2 points. Martinez's incredible save, then Kashi blocking the header on the line as well, which again was incredible piece of defending. But yeah, I'd really love us to make a bit of a statement at last home game of the season. It should, like I say, it should be rocking. It's under the lights. I'm just gutted I can't be there, to be honest, but I will be watching it at home. I'll pop round my old man's, I think, and watch it with him on Friday night, and be cheering us on.
Yeah. And James makes a point here as well. They made 8 changes Sunday against Palace. Remember, they'd played in the Arctic Circle on Thursday night. They
True.
didn't get back home till Friday. Once again, if you want to know the exact details, I think Matt Law mentions it in the podcast. This is another reason. They didn't get home till like midday or mid-afternoon on Friday. And then they had to play then on the Sunday again. So I think that was what dictated the raft of changes against Palace on Sunday. Look, I could be wrong. I'm just going by what probably the foremost Spurs reporter in the country said to me during the week. So it's but as I say, I'd be definitely happy to be wrong. Yeah, absolutely. If they start fellas with names like Howie Roseman at centre back, and all these beautifully like incredibly London British names, guys that just with number 75 in their back and everything like that, that's fine. Start all the young fellas if you want to, guys. I don't really mind. But as I say, I'm steeling myself for the potential given what Matt Law mentioned that, and once again he could be wrong. That he thinks that this was the throwaway game, not the throwaway game, but the game to rest everybody up was Palace. He's going to play people for 50, 60 minutes against us, and then that just sharpens the knives then for Europa League. So we'll see. We'll see what the story is. We'll see what happens. I still think we can beat them. I still think even if he does play a decent team, that they're still going to be playing with the handbrake on, as I said, because none of them will want to run full pelt and get injured. They have some massive number of hamstring injuries over the last 18 months. So I don't think anybody's going to want to be overexerting themselves to try and get up to 17th place in the league, or the 18th place, 16th place in the league. So I still think it works in our favour regardless. I still think it does.
And we've got that momentum going into the game as well. What is it? One league defeat in 7-ish, I think it is now, something like that. Just the Man City, and that momentum is with us. We are the Premier League's informed team, or have been. One certainly in the top 1, 2, 3 as well. So I think we go into it confident. Like I say, going away like we did last week and getting that win and bringing it back to Villa Park. Absolutely, there's a lot on the line, and I think the good thing as well, Neil, is the fact that our players have tasted that European experience this year, and not just Europe, Champions League. I was watching the I don't know if you watched, just go off topic very quickly, the Golf Life series that Tubes does with Jimmy Bullard, and Matty Cash was on there on this late.
No, I've heard about this Golf Life thing. Yeah, actually, I meant to look at it. Yeah, go for it.
It's really good. It's really, long story short, I've been back into golf this year, hacking it around anyway. So I've sort of been a bit of interest. But I watched the episode last night with Cashy, and again they're sort of driving around the course and chatting about it. And Bullard asked him about Champions League, and you could just see Cashy's face just lit up. It was actually really nice to watch, because it's quite a relaxed, quite a raw interview as well as they're playing golf. And Cashy just talking about a Champions League and just saying, it's incredible. And the highlight of it was the PSG game at Villa Park, but even playing away at the PSG and all this. And you can just see, and he was saying as well, that it just had such a big effect on the squad. And they're hungry. They are hungry to get that again next year. And that is the biggest incentive, isn't it? Do our job, win our 2 games, and what happens in the other games happens. We can only control so much. And I think it would just be so good if we go into the 2 games now using that as real incentive to spur them on, which I'm absolutely certain will be.
Jay, here's a bit of a guessing game for you. How many of the 18 away games that Spurs have played so far this season, how many points do you think they've accumulated playing away from home?
That is a good question. Well, I know they've had 20 defeats this season in the Premier League. So I'm thinking probably a dozen of those are away, perhaps. So I would say they've probably picked up, let's say 12 points.
17 points. But in their last 6, they have lost 11 away. They've won 5 and drawn 2. But their most recent record away from home is win, loss, draw. So they've
Oh,
lost to
mate.
Five away from home recently. So so 1-5 drawn 2 last 11. They've scored 29 goals away from home. Spurs have an unbelievable scoring record. They've scored tons of goals. Scored 29 goals, conceded 28 goals away from home this season. So they've got a +1 goal difference. Now, I come to, obviously, we know what our home record is like. Obviously, we haven't lost in X amount of games. I completely blanked on it there as I said that. Obviously, we know what it is. And then I went, shit, can't remember what it is. I've completely blanked on it. But we've got a really good home record. We've obviously played 18 games at home this season. Jay, how many points have we picked up at home this season of our 63 points?
I feel like I'm on the chase or tipping point or something there. I know that I'm certain, haven't we only lost one in the Arsenal game at home? The amount of points that we've picked up, I would say it's going to be 39.
Oh, hit the post, 37.
Oh,
37. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
37. 110, drawn 7, last only 1. We've scored 32 goals and we've only conceded 20 goals at home this season.
That was the other thing as well, wasn't it? Our goal difference. I mean, you look at the league now and our goal difference is better, but we were on minus, weren't we, for quite a long time
recently, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I know we've gotten into the +7 or 6, like you say. But I think that was one thing that did surprise me. When we lost a few games, we lost them, I think, pretty heavily, didn't we? We were only winning by sort of narrow margins, and yeah, I think that is the only one thing. And look, you know, for the points as well, when you're level on points, as we know, goal difference technically counts as an extra point because you know you have to have the better goal difference. But yeah, it's definitely got better. Definitely got better. But I just hope that doesn't come back and bite us on the backside at the end of the season for that.
Another piece of information is that of all the teams in the Premier League, Spurs, when they play away from home, teams give them possession. So Spurs have been afforded 54.2% possession when playing away from home. I think that probably suits Aston Villa trying to get into, when, you know, obviously we've done it at times where we've kind of been ball dominant. We've shown that we can do it when we're not ball dominant. I don't know what way I said that probably suits Villa. I don't know what way we go about it. I think we probably just want to put the foot in on the jugular early. But then again, when have we done that? And probably since Celtic, we haven't done that where we've got, and I know there's been another game, I just can't remember it.
It was the Fulham game, wasn't it? Was it Fulham?
Early goals and killed it off. Yeah.
Yeah. Tielemans got the header. I think that was pretty early on, wasn't it? And then we sort of could have done with another on that one. But yeah, apart from that, I think we had a bit of a Newcastle. Yeah, that's it. And we've had a tendency, haven't we, to concede goals from the first shot. Was it like I can't remember the stat. It was it was not a good stat, was it? Far too many being conceded. But yeah, hopefully we'll get in there and get the initiative, and an early goal's always nice. Like I say, settles the nerves a bit.
Absolutely. I think for certain. Well, look, it's going to be an interesting game. I just thought there were interesting things. And at this point of the season, you know, the sample set is there to see that, look, some teams just don't show up when they go away from home. Recently, Spurs haven't. In their last 6 games, as I mentioned, they've only won 1, and that was 6 games ago. You know, it was of their away games. Actually, can I find out who that was against? Let me just see. If I click on this W, what does it bring up? It was against Manchester United, a 1-0 win against Man United. And wait a minute. Yeah, that was Spurs at home. It's gone all P-Tong here. Wait a minute. Spurs away. Their last away win was against Ipswich. 4-1 win against Ipswich. So of their last 6 games, they've lost 4, drawn 1, and beaten Ipswich 4-1 away from home. When Brendan Johnson got two early goals, then Jed Spence and Kulusevski got one late on. So look, all we can do is try and see if past his prologue in that instance, but there is no guarantee with regards to that. But look, it's going to be an interesting game on Friday anyway, and I'm just pissed off I'm not going to be there to see it myself. Myself and Paddy were I was going to try and see if I could get a ticket for it, get over if it was on the Sunday game, if it was on the, as a Sunday game, but definitely wouldn't get over there on a Friday, unfortunately. So that ruled that one out. And like yourself, you're not going to get there either. As well.
No, unfortunately not, mate. Yeah, like yourself, it's a bit of a mission to get to Villa Park over land and sea. So yeah, it's just going to be keeping an eye on it from a distance, and yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, listen, thanks a million, Jay, for joining me today, as always, and thanks a million for everybody in the chat room. There was 680 there at one stage, which is always bonkers. And I know I was being facetious about TG Carr earlier on. I think someone put in the actual TAM ratings for them, said they get 650,000 views a week or something like that. That still sounds a bit high to me, but take out sports maybe. And actually, tonight would have actually been a great night for them, because there was a match on. There's a hurling match on there tonight. I'd say that would have got a good couple of 100,000 views on it. So I was obviously being facetious with regards to that. Do support your local language channels as well, everybody. If you're in Wales, watch the Welsh channels. If you're in Cornwall, I don't know, is there a Cornish channel? Is there a Cornish channel in Cornwall?
I know there used to be an Isle of Wight channel, but
is there?
Yeah, unfortunately, there was. Yeah, there used to be. There's not anymore. Is there
an Isle of Wight dialect or language, or is there like Cornish and Cornwall? Aren't they trying to get Cornish back as a proper language again?
Oh, are they? I don't know, mate. No, I mean, there's Isle of Wight. It's a bit sort of there's a few Isle of Wight words, namit and nipper and things like that. But yeah, yeah, no, it's it's as it is. It's as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, anyway, listen, thanks a million, everybody, for watching us and for putting up with us here on a Wednesday night. And thanks a million to Jay. We will be back on Friday with a Team Sheet Tantrum and a post-match podcast reaction pod as well. Going to try and get a threesome. Menage a trois for that, myself, Paddy, Jay. See if see how that one goes on Friday evening. So come join us for the reaction and the Team Sheet Tantrum, and hopefully you will enjoy it. I do have a piece on Christian Mosquera as well that I will probably have ready for tomorrow. I'm not doing anything on Gabriel Sara because I just don't believe the rumor. I had a couple of people message me going, "Oh, do a piece on Sara." I just don't believe the rumor, but I could be wrong on that one. But I will do one on Mosquera and probably put it out tomorrow at some stage. So keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa. Cheers, Neil.